Namaste, everyone. Michele Granberg here. Welcome to another episode of Positive Energy, bringing enlightening television for your evolving soul. Would you like to see the end of animal exploitation and cruelty? Animals are sentient beings, which means they are conscious and able to feel things just like you and me. Yet their pain is often minimized. My returning guest is Brian Hackett, New Jersey State Director of the Humane Society. He's here to update us on how the Humane Society is fighting for animals, large and small. Stay where you are and stay tuned, because Positive Energy starts right now. So I'm here with Brian Hackett, New Jersey State Director of the Humane Society. Welcome back to Positive Energy.
Good to be here again.
Nice to have you. So the Humane Society is one of the nation's most effective animal protection organizations, and they take on fights for all species of animals in so many ways that will surprise people, but you really are a voice for the animals. So expand a little bit on the Humane Society's purpose and their mission and their methods.
Yes, so we fight for all animals, as you said, and I think especially with the world's focus now on the pandemic and COVID-19 and the response to this worldwide problem, our work has been brought to the forefront even more so in recent months, as people learn and society focuses on the connections between how we treat the environment, how we treat animals, and what this means for our public health.
Yeah, so make this specific connection, because not as many people are connecting the dots between animal exploitation and the coronavirus pandemic.
Yes.
What do humans have to do with it?
Yes.
Where are they involved?
Many diseases and these pandemics that we've seen throughout history are zoonotic in nature. And so that means that they're originating in animals and they somehow could hop to human beings. And so the most recent pandemic is yet another example of this type of issue. And scientists and medical experts are overwhelmingly on the consensus that it was originated from some type of what we are calling live animal markets, or commonly known as wet markets, in Wuhan. And what the pandemic has shown is that when animals are exploited, when animals are treated horrifically, and they're kept in these types of conditions, and they're consumed in this way, it could have disastrous consequences for our society and our world.
Yeah, and in fact, the evidence is there for that, right? So describe a little bit more what, for people who are not familiar with a live animal market, and they're here in this country as well, but more so in China. What do they look like? What's unsanitary about them?
Well, they're pretty disturbing. I suppose anybody could probably do a quick Google or YouTube search and see some pretty horrific video. I won't even say it's undercover video, because they're kind of out in the open, in the public. There's a whole variety of animals in at least foreign live animal markets. There's a whole variety of animals, from dogs, cats, snakes, pangolins, bats, cows, pigs, a whole slew of animals that are kept in very confined, cramped spaces. It's very, very unsanitary. The animals are stressed, and the consensus in the scientific community, at least from the experts that I've heard from and I've read about, is that bats are perfect carriers of coronavirus as an intermediate host. And they're mammalian. They are in hoarded groups. They travel far distances, and there's connections to deforestation, because the more and more that we encroach on these natural habitats, the bats have less places to go, and then they're migrating closer to urban areas. They're also being consumed and transported in these live animal markets. And so when the bodily fluids and the droppings and other excrement are in these markets, and they're on the other animals, and then people are slaughtering these animals in the public view. There's no sanitary health regulations. Then they're selling the meat, and all of this mixing together is just a perfect storm for disease proliferation. And unfortunately in the United States, we have very similar conditions albeit in different places and different types of animals in some cases, but America's factory farms, concentrated animal feeding operations where, and we're not speaking about a small family farm or where, chickens or pigs or cows are grazing out in the fields. We're talking about thousands of animals that are kept confined in warehouses or buildings, and they're cramped on top of each other, and they're given antibiotics just thrown across the whole herd of them because it's a preventative use so they don't get sick because the conditions are so disgusting. And then these are animals that are being slaughtered and are being consumed. So whether it's unsanitary conditions, it's inhumane keeping and slaughtering, whether it's in Asia or it's in the United States, we have a lot of the same issues and a lot of the same problems to grapple with as a society.
Yeah, in terms of the root cause of that. So, that's the bad news. So it really is, and that it's legal and that it's standard practice and that people are so desensitized to it and it's so normalized. What's to be done? What's the Humane Society want to do, intend to do, if anything? What can we do? Having awareness, of course, is step one.
Right.
And what you're saying is the pandemic has brought it to the forefront more so, right? To people's awareness.
Yes.
That's a beginning.
Right.
What next?
The pandemic certainly has alerted a lot of folks in society to what groups like HSUS have been saying for many, many, many years about these issues. I think there's a lot that we can do. There's a lot of positive learning that can come from this and a lot of positive change already. I think one thing is, on a broader picture, is to realize the interconnectedness between humans and animals and the environment, and how we treat the animals, how we treat the environment will eventually come back to affect us, whether in the near term or the long term. And we encourage people at the minimum, be mindful of the choices that we're making. Think about your food choices. Think about your choices in how you live your daily life. And not everybody has to go vegan tomorrow and never eat an animal product again.
Sure they do.
We have many people who would love to see that, but on a societal level, it's just thinking about those sustainable choices. If you're going to get animal products, get it from a place that the animals are treated. It's not a factory farm. It's not a concentrated animal feeding operation. It's not a mass dairy operation that are mistreating these cows. Maybe a small organic family farm, if that's possible. And another thing that this pandemic has really, shown us is not just the interconnectedness and not just how we can have an effect, but if we look at how the environment was affected just with the lockdowns in this country, we have cleaner air, we have cleaner water, and just in a short period of time, how you see some of these changes that have been a result, and a byproduct, so to speak, of this pandemic that we never expected to happen in this way. For companion animals, animal shelters and rescues throughout the country have seen a surge in adoptions and fostering. People are working from home. People have more time to spend with animals, so they're bringing more animals into their lives, which is just a beautiful thing to see. I speak with our shelter partners and friends throughout New Jersey on a regular basis, and many of them tell me that they've adopted so many animals. It's great. They're seeing new people come in and finding animals homes. So that's certainly a positive silver lining to much of the pain and the stressful situation we've been in.
We have to look for the silver lining.
Yes.
We have to stay hopeful in that way. And so in some ways we see it's redirecting people's attention and opening up their compassion. And we would love for that to continue, because there is such the use and abuse of animals is so systemic as a form of discrimination. Equal to humans, of course, being also discriminated in so many ways, but we don't want to leave the animals out of this movement as well. So thank you for explaining the connection there. let's talk about some more kind of good news, which is Moose's Law, which is a piece of legislation that was recently went through and was approved. What does it address, and who was it named after?
Yes. So here in New Jersey, our legislature has been modifying its activity to address social distancing and responding to the pandemic. So there's been a lot of focus and work on COVID-related legislation and the state budget, of course. And just recently, as you said, we've been able to help secure some movement on Senator Singleton's bill S-1258, Moose's Law, which was inspired by a horrific case of a dog that was taken, and just very sad. And Senator Singleton has been a champion on these animal protection issues across the board. And so this particular bill, it would prevent people who've been convicted of animal cruelty from working in an animal-related enterprise. We see so often people who are convicted of animal cruelty, if they don't go on to committing future crimes against humans, which the link between animal cruelty and human crimes against humans is undisputable, but they'll potentially recommit crimes against animals. So we want to try to prevent animal cruelty the best that we can. The bill would also remove the eligibility for a pretrial intervention for those who are charged with criminal animal cruelty offenses. So just as in current law, domestic violence, for example, is something that would make an individual not eligible for that pretrial intervention program. In this case, this law would add criminal animal cruelty to that list of ineligibility for this pretrial program. So it's a good piece of legislation. It's something that I think prosecutors are in support of as they prosecute, heinous animal cruelty charges, and so we do support that, and we appreciate Senator Singleton, his leadership in moving that forward at this time when there's just so many things on the agenda for the legislators.
Yeah, it's easy to overlook those types of legislation and have them be brushed off and as not important. So yeah. So kudos for you, kudos for them, for Senator Singleton. That's wonderful. I hope that will prevent some cruelty and punish appropriately those who are cruel. So from there, talk a little bit about cosmetic testing. Was there some progress in that area as well? And well, start by saying, what don't people know about animal testing for cosmetics? What are they not knowing or seeing?
So the use of animals in cosmetic testing is totally, absolutely unnecessary. Many companies already refuse to participate in that. 3 states have already banned the use of or the sale of cosmetics that have been newly tested on animals. So that's California, Nevada, and Illinois. And we hope New Jersey is the 4th in passing our state-level Humane Cosmetics Act. On the federal level, almost 300 companies in the corporate world that deal in cosmetics support this legislation. And it's really about taking a stand and saying that testing on animals for cosmetics is totally unnecessary, and we support both a government and from a business perspective, we do not support getting data that is derived from testing on animals when especially it's unnecessary. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, doesn't require animal tests for certifying the safety of these products. There's even tests, there's so many alternatives. There's even a test where there's actually artificial human skin that is tested on, which obviously mimics humans, because when you test on animals, it's not a human being, it's an animal, and their bodies are different, and it just, animal testing makes zero sense on so many levels. And so New Jersey has a Humane Cosmetics Act, which we're really hoping also gets movement this year. Last year it was very promising. There was a hearing on the bill towards the end of that legislative session, and there was unanimous support on the bill at that time in that committee. So the bill has a nice list of co-sponsors, bipartisan. which is exciting, and we hope New Jersey becomes the fourth to pass that bill into law.
I hope so. I really hope. It's so unnecessary, as you said, as if cruelty is ever necessary, but I hope it becomes a thing of the past. It's good for the animals, it's good for people, it's good for business,
right,
which usually becomes the bottom line. So it's absolutely a win-win. And again, just animals are sentient. Why would we want to inflict that pain on them?
And the animal tests, I mean, they're pretty horrific. I mean, it's putting irritants in their eyes. It's making them swallow lethal doses of things until they die to test what level of lethal dose.
It's usually dogs and monkeys and
rabbits,
rabbits,
dogs, cats, mice, rodents. Yeah.
Very unfortunate, but we want to move it in the right direction for sure. So another heartbreaking issue, and there are so many, but it's so important to talk about, to raise awareness, is the dog meat trade. I know the Humane Society fights to have that cease and banned. It's really heartbreaking for dog lovers to hear. It was recently banned, though, in China. So let's talk about what's happened and what's being enforced, not enforced, how that looks.
So one indirect, I guess, result of COVID and this pandemic has been a redirected focus on these issues. A number of cities have moved to ban dog meat consumption in China, which is a wonderful step. The Chinese government on a national level in China actually declassified dogs as livestock and reclassified them as pets. So that's a tremendous move ahead. Unfortunately, the heinous Yulin festival is currently going on, where dogs are skinned alive, tortured, boiled alive. Just pretty horrific things happening right now. A number of dogs were just saved from one of those vendors at Yulin. HSUS and Humane Society International, one of our affiliates, just recently closed down our 16th large-scale dog meat farm. And we've been working internationally to try to help these farmers convert over to different types of crops that are, of course, not live animals that are going to be killed for dog meat.
So there's some progress, but pretty far to go.
Yes.
Yes. As well. Let's talk about something that may be some lesser-known cruelties to wildlife in our own backyards. And again, this is where speciesism really comes into play, that people really minimize the pain and the importance of certain animals. So what have you seen with that?
Well, one problem we really have in New Jersey that I hear across the board from speaking to different wildlife advocates and other folks in this is that pest control operator companies are a large part of the problem, abandoning wildlife, taking the moms away and leaving the pups or the babies back. A lot of the problems that wildlife face are because of these issues. So we encourage people, if you have an issue with pests, be sure to find a humane pest control operator. On our website at humanesociety.org, we have some pages dedicated to information about finding a humane pest control operator. Unfortunately, when it comes to wildlife, we have a fur store opening up in Evesham Township in Burlington County.
Oh, wow.
Believe it or not, we haven't had a fur store open up in this state in, I think, decades. And
wow.
At a time when companies like Gucci and Versace and Macy's and Bloomingdale's and all these big names are going fur-free and fur farms are shutting down, the Dutch government just moved to shut down fur farms in the Netherlands because 570,000 mink animals have been just culled because there were COVID infections found on these mink farms. So the whole fur industry is disgusting. It's heinously cruel, and to have a fur store opening up in New Jersey is just mind-boggling in 2020.
I don't even know what to say to that. I don't know what do we attribute that to? Some backlash, people hanging on to? I don't understand.
It's mind-boggling. At first, when I first heard about it, I thought it was a joke, to be completely honest. And unfortunately, it's not any laughing matter. So, any folks that are watching your show who live in Burlington County or maybe have friends or family in Evesham Township, have them write the mayor and township committee members and let them know that they are not in favor of a fur store in town.
Let's mobilize.
Yeah.
And let our voices be heard. Another area sort of similar is puppy mills and pet stores. Mm-hmm. So connect the dots there. A puppy mill is an inhumane, high-volume dog breeding facility that churns out puppies for profit, ignoring the needs of the pups and their mothers. Dogs from puppy mills are often sick and unsocialized, and puppy mills commonly sell through internet sales, online, classified ads, flea markets, and pet stores. I got that from the Humane Society website, but tell us what we need to know about that.
Number one most important tidbit for your viewers to take away is don't ever purchase a puppy through a pet store. Pet stores, we only have 22 left in New Jersey.
Do they exist?
There's not many left in New Jersey, but sadly the 22 remaining still source from commercial breeding puppy mills. We, of course, promote and encourage people to go to a shelter or a rescue to obtain a new member of their family. If people don't want to adopt, please seek out a responsible breeder. A responsible breeder never sells to or through a pet shop. A responsible breeder never ships a puppy. A responsible breeder will want to meet you face to face to make sure that you're a right fit for the animal and the animal's a right fit for you. So watch out for red flags.
Is there a database for reputable breeders or not so much?
So there are, in New Jersey, there are breed clubs for various types of breeds. The New Jersey Federation of Dog Clubs has 80 or 90 member breeding clubs or breeder groups within a part of it. And those organizations also don't, they also encourage people to not buy from a pet shop either. Seek out a responsible breeder if that's what you're going to do.
Okay. So we're almost running out of time. There's so much to cover, but I wanted to ask you what you think about grassroots activism in general, like peaceful protests and disruptions and outreach. Do they make a difference?
Yeah. Well, we specialize in legislative advocacy and policy. We work directly with legislators and staffers and their constituents to mobilize in support of animal protection policies. But any way that a citizen can peacefully and responsibly express their First Amendment rights to speak up for animals, it's a positive thing to do. So whether it's rallies, demonstrations, meetings with your legislators, letter writing campaigns, letters to the editor, there's so many ways to really be involved and have your voice heard for animals. If it's peaceful, if it's legal, if it's responsible, we support that. And so what we've talked about today, Moose's Law, the Humane Cosmetics Act, stopping puppy mill sales in our state, there's a whole array of issues here in New Jersey that your viewers can get active on and really play a positive role in supporting. So number one, reach out to your local officials in the local level, your state legislators, let them know that you care about animals and you care about these issues and you're a voter.
Yeah. Get involved.
Yes.
Get involved. It feels good to be active and to get involved, or just donate some dollars, to those organizations. So we're almost out of time. Any just final thoughts that you'd like to leave people with?
It's 2020 has been a challenging year. The last time I was on your show, I never would have thought we'd be sitting here discussing these matters like we are today. But it's been a difficult time for all of us, and I think at the end of the day we'll all get through it together. And I hope that we all as a society can focus on the silver linings that have come out of this, and have a new mindset geared towards protecting animals and realizing how we're all interconnected, and just make better choices together and all support each other in this, because united we have to stand.
Yeah, toward a better world.
Yes.
Toward a more humane society.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brian, for being here, and thank you for the work that you're doing in the world and Humane Society and all its good work as well.
Thank you, Michelle, for having me.
We're wrapping up another enlightening show. When it comes to animals, we're all in this together. What affects them affects us. Join me in holding the highest vision of a more humane society for all of us. Thank you, Monday Morning Flowers, for the beautiful floral arrangement. Thank you for watching. Check out MicheleGranberg.com, go vegan, and join me next time on Positive Energy.